Morning fam, I'm back at it again, another studio session with yours truly, and today we are going to discuss compression and sidechaining. So if you're a bit of a nerd like me for music, then you're going to love this one. Even if you're a beginner, it's still going to be helpful. Pretty cool technique used in a lot of dance music and basically any type of music you can use it. I'll show you a quick example of sidechaining. So if you can hear that synth and bass ducking, that is caused by the compression from the sidechaining, and I've just done it in time with this kick. So every time this kick hits, the bass and synth duck behind it, like so. Into the tutorial. So to start off, let's talk about compression. Compression is actually pretty simple. Nothing too hard about it. For example, in this sample we took out of the song, there are lots of high peaks and lots of quiet peaks. And in a song you don't really want this because you want to be able to mix all the different parts of the song together easily. And if one's going up and down a lot, it's a lot harder to mix. So we're going to chuck the sample through the mixer. Let's put it through track 1 and then we're going to compress it. So on here, I'll use a visual compressor so it's easy for us to see. Let's go to compression down here and then we'll play the song. So as you can hear, there's like a few loud shouts in there that we don't really want. So we'll start by adjusting the threshold. The threshold is the line above which the compressor starts acting. So if we want just the higher peaks here to be compressed, we'll just drag it down slightly below the higher peaks. Next off, the ratio, that is how much we compress the wave peaks above that threshold by. So if we want to compress it a lot, then we compress it by a ratio of say 5:1, which means everything above that threshold is going to be squashed down quieter to a fifth of the original amount it was. And yet we will do that just for the sake of the tutorial. I'll show you what it does. So that's basically all you really need to know about the compressor. There's a few other little settings like gain, which is turning up the volume of the entire thing after you compress it. The attack is just how fast the compressor kicks in. So it might start compressing slightly after the sound hits, or if you want it right on, then you just have the attack at 0. The release is how long it takes to stop compressing the sound after it's passed. So, for example, we're going to export this after it's been compressed, and you'll see what it looks like. So file, export, always do a WAV file because they're good quality. Let's go to your packs, and just, let's save it here, and like, for example, tutorial, example, start rendering, bam, sweet. So this is the original one, and this is the new one. So as you can see, the new one, there's a lot less difference between the high points and the low points, which makes it a lot easier for mixing. That's basically what compression is. So let's move on to sidechaining. Today we're just going to do a bass and a kick, just because that's the classic. The reason why lots of people sidechain the bass and the kick is that the kick has very low frequencies as well as the bass, and when you play two very low frequencies together, it's not ideal. They can clash, they can phase and all that technical stuff. So if I was making a dance song, I'd always sidechain the bass and the kick. So that's our bass there. Let's play the song. Let's put it through the mixer. Sorry. I'll put like a distortion on it just so it makes it easy for us to hear. So distortion is just putting more harmonics on it. And then we'll grab a kick. There's our kicks, like an EDM kick. Sounds pretty good. Let's not worry about the tuning of it at the moment. Let's just go fill every 4. So now we have playing on the song. And we just want that bass to duck every time the kick hits this so that it don't clash and you get that cool pumping effect and all that. So to start off, we'll clone this and rename it. Sorry, trigger. So, and we're going to make it play at the same time as these kicks. So every time this kick is playing, this trigger will also play, and that trigger will be linked to a compressor on the bass. So when this trigger plays, the compressor will kick in and we'll sidechain that, like so. So let's go. Sound remix a track. Next thing you've got to put on this trigger is a peak controller. So by the way, this is just the way I do it. There's a few ways, but I normally do mine like this. So put this peak controller on here, put a compressor onto the bass. I always just use a simple one, fruity compressor. And then we want to link this trigger to the threshold. So go link to controller and choose your trigger peak. Go invert and accept. And now when we play the song, you can see the threshold is going down every time the trigger hits, which is good. But you can't hear anything yet because there's no ratio or anything. We aren't actually compressing stuff. So if we drag this down to like 3.5, that sounds pretty good already. And now we just got to think about what attack and release settings we want. We probably want to attack to cut the compressor to hit quite fast, so it compresses as soon as that kick hits. And then the release, could do it like around 300. If I'm doing a dance song at 128, then I'll normally do the release around 325. But it's up to you. And there you go, that's how we do compression.